Good morning. My name is 𝙎𝙪𝙧𝙚, and we welcome you to the Minnesota Crossroads Career Network webinar today. Many of you have probably been here before, and I know we always have new people that join us. And so I'm grateful for all of you that are here and look forward to a great morning. We've got a number of great things on the agenda, and I want to be able to give you also an overview of all that's available through Crossroads for you to take advantage of it. If you're not familiar with us, Crossroads is a faith-based job transition group that we offer an awful lot of different resources and help and support for your job search. And I'll go into more detail of what all that is, but we're really glad to be able to offer these things and help you through the process and make your job search as painless as possible. And part of our hope with Crossroads is that along with helping people succeed in their job search, that we also talk about bigger issues as well and point people to the hope and encouragement of Jesus Christ. It should be no surprise that the Bible has a great deal of wisdom for life. And one passage I think particularly relevant says, "Be very careful then how you live, not as unwise, but as wise, making the most of every opportunity." This isn't about making the most money in a multi-level marketing scheme. It's about wisely examining what's before you and making good decisions. I think we often think that if a job opportunity is offered, it must be the right one. That's certainly not the case. And sometimes making the most of a particular opportunity is to know when to walk away. Through asking good questions, seeking wise counsel, and prayer, we can make wiser decisions about our job search and in every area of our lives. I hope that as you're looking for your next opportunity, you look for multiple ways to seek and apply great wisdom to your choice. And when you truly seek God for the answers through his word and through prayer, you'll become wiser in the process. Let me open us up in a word of prayer, and I'll jump into an overview of all that we have coming up for you here this morning and through Crossroads. Lord, we just thank you for these opportunities to come together. Even if we can't be in person together, we have the opportunity through technology to join together here. And I'm grateful for the ways that people can be impacted. I'm grateful for the ways you bring people to this, Lord. And we pray that this morning is encouraging and hopeful to all those that attend, that everyone can walk away with something that they can use, that you provide wisdom, and that this time honors you. In Jesus' name, amen. With that, let me put up some slides here quickly to give you a sense of what you can take advantage of through Crossroads. I'm hopeful you can see that, but again, welcome. And as I mention every time, I look at these pictures of people meeting in person and without masks, and I'm so craving that time to be able to do that again. And hopefully later this year, I'm kind of cautiously optimistic that sometime this summer we can start having in-person meetings again, perhaps in the fall, but I certainly want to do sooner rather than later if possible. So we'll just see how it goes. Keep listening as the weeks go by, and as soon as we have some news, I'll be letting everyone know. This morning, as I mentioned, I'll give you an overview here of all that's available. I'm glad to welcome Dave Ritzman. He's going to talk about Crossroads in his career and what he's learned in the process and what he gained out of it. And we're really glad to have Derek Sussner. He's going to be talking about how to make sure your brand stands out and how you tell the story about your what you do and what you're looking for makes all the difference in the world in terms of how it's received by others. And so he'll be joining us here this morning as well. And then I'll wrap up briefly at the end, and we'll be done by 8:30. Excuse me, by 9 o'clock. I have Derek Sussner in here from 7:25 to 8:25. Oh yeah, no, that's correct. I think I have the times messed up. We started at 7:30. Anyway, we'll be done by 9. I'm sorry about that. When we meet in person, we actually have 3 locations around the Twin Cities that support Crossroads. And so when we do get back to our normal routines, you can find a location that's closest to you, whether it's Eden Prairie, Woodbury, or Arden Hills, and take advantage of the seminars, classes, and everything else we offer as well. You'll always find details on our website at mncrossroads.com, and I'll show you more of that later, but I'm grateful for these 3 churches that are offering this to people, and we have a number of ways that you can plug in. You know, one advantage, though, that we've had over this past year of doing webinars like this is we've been able to impact people from a much broader geographic area. And in fact, we've had people attend our webinars from literally around the world, and throughout Europe and Africa and Mexico and Canada and throughout the country. And I'm grateful for that. And I think when we do get back in person, we're going to continue to live stream those events as well, so that people can continue to take advantage of these webinars and other things we do. It's been kind of an interesting side effect that would have never happened if we had only met in person. So if you are joining us today from somewhere outside of Minnesota, put that down in the chat box. We'd love to hear where you're watching from. And so glad that this works out for people that otherwise wouldn't be able to attend. If you haven't checked out our website yet, I certainly encourage you to do that. That's where we have all the detailed information of events and other things that are offered and things that are coming up. We have a number of resources available on there, and we have a job board. And it's not obviously as busy of a job board as Indeed or Monster.com, but what makes it unique is that companies post on our job board because they know what we offer, they know the kind of people that attend, they want to be able to access great people for the jobs they have open. But we require that they include a contact name and some contact information, at least an email address of somebody you can reach out to if you have any questions or if you want to follow up. And that's one of the downsides and complaints people have of other job boards is you're applying into a black hole and you never hear back and you don't know how to get a hold of anybody. So we hope to solve that problem to a degree with you. I'd love to say that everybody that puts their contact information up there is responsive right away when you email. They aren't always, but at least you have somebody that you could give it a try with. And I'd encourage you to check that out. There's some great jobs up there, both corporate and interim jobs and everything in between. And I get new ones that we post up there, several of them a week. So check it out on a regular basis. On a weekly basis, we have a number of ways you can plug in and take advantage of resources and help we offer and be able to stay tuned into your job search in a way that keeps things moving forward and active. Every Thursday morning at 9 a.m., we have our Networking with Grace group, and it's focused networking time with people. It's all on Zoom meetings online, so you do need to pre-register to make sure that, because we do have some capacity issues there. But they have anywhere from, I think, 30 to 60 or 70 people each week. And it's a great way to get new contacts, new leads, new ideas from others that are joining too. Everybody gets an opportunity to ask for help and tell their story briefly. And it moves along very quickly. We have Wes Tang and Wes Roper. We call them Wes 1 and Wes 2 that lead that group. And they do a tremendous job to make sure that everybody walks out with something each week, and it's encouraging. It's every week. Check out the details on the website, and you can find all the information you need there. We have one-on-one coaching available. And if you want to review your resume with anyone, or if you want to do some mock interview practice, or just help prepare for an interview in some other ways, or talk about anything regarding your job search with somebody on a one-on-one basis, find the information on our website. You can fill out a short form and somebody will follow up with you to arrange a time for a phone call or a Zoom meeting. And you can use that as often as you like. We have a number of volunteers that are available to help you with that, and take advantage of that anytime. If you've been in your job search for more than 5 minutes, you've probably already figured out that this whole process is an emotional roller coaster. There's ups and downs all the time. And I think the more spiritual support you can get in that process as well is extremely helpful. So we have a team of people that love to pray for you. We have a prayer request page on our website, and we have a team of a few counselors that if you feel like you need more ongoing help or support along those lines, you can sign up for that as well, and somebody will reach out to you. I just encourage you to get as much help and support as you can through this, and I'm grateful for the people that really care and want to help in this way. And the meat and potatoes, or the most in-depth and ongoing help you can get, is our online classes. We're meeting on Zoom there right now as well, but we have an 8-week small group class that we get started, a new one every month. And we have the next one starting up this coming Tuesday on April 20th. And then on our website, we already have our May one scheduled on there too. You can check that out. But we cover every aspect of an effective job search, starting with attitude and getting in the right frame of mind and dealing with the things that may be holding you back. And we talk through some assessments and give you an opportunity to take some of those so you can better articulate what makes you unique and what you bring to the table that others don't. We talk a lot about networking. If you haven't heard, that's an important part of a good job search. And we talk about how to do that effectively and targeting companies that you may want to pursue. We go through resumes and talk about best practices and how to improve yours, and what are important things to consider there. We talk through interviews and different kinds you're going to face and how to approach different things, what organizations are looking for, and how to address different scenarios. We talk about negotiating and selecting, and there's really so much more. As much as the content is very strong and current to the job market right now, I think equally important on those small group classes is that weekly light accountability, getting encouragement, moral support, hearing perspectives from others that are in the same boat as you are. I think sometimes it can feel like you're on an island, and family and friends don't really get the challenges you're facing in the job market. And so getting that encouragement from others in the group as well, and that moral support, I think, is as important as anything else in there. And then we also talk through what's God's perspective of your job search and your life, and we really dive into what that means for you on a greater scale as well. As I mentioned, new classes beginning monthly. Check out the website for details, and you can pre-register there. We have a new one starting next Tuesday. We have some openings left there as well if you want to still join us as soon as that, and look forward to seeing you plug in. I think there's a lot of opportunity to, as I mentioned, really get that ongoing help. If you haven't seen it also on LinkedIn, we have a LinkedIn group that I think can be extremely helpful for you. If you put in MN Crossroads Career Network in the search box on LinkedIn, you'll find us. And we have over 2,000 people in there that are all either currently or mostly previously alumni of Crossroads, and are just willing to be there as contacts in the organizations they landed in. And so it's a great way to look for contacts at companies you're interested in. It's a great place to stay up to date on events coming up and resources that people post, and job postings sometimes on there as well. And there's a lot of good information. So join the LinkedIn group and take advantage of that anytime as well. All of our current and previous webinars now are getting posted on our new YouTube channel. And so you'll find this one posted by tomorrow at the latest, probably later today yet. And future ones will be up there too, and you can check out previous ones we've had. They're also linked on the bottom of our seminars page on our website. And Derek, who will be speaking later, is going to offer up a document, and we'll have that linked there as well. But check out everything on our YouTube channel and watch that regularly too. Additional resource, Thrivent has been a tremendous partner for us and provided resources and help for many years now for Crossroads, and I'm very grateful to them. But we're working together on putting together a series of webinars on managing your finance through job transition. They really give you a lot of great advice and help on how to think about that and what to look out for, and they will be coming up soon. We don't have them scheduled yet, but we're hopeful that by next month, they're going to get started. It'll be 3 webinars that'll be on a rotating basis each month. And so I'm giving you a heads up to watch for that. I'm grateful for their help in putting this together, and I think it'd be a great additional help in your job search. I just want to quickly acknowledge that we have actually over 40 people that volunteer for Crossroads in multiple ways, and I'm grateful for each of them. None of the things that we do are possible because of one or two people. This morning we have Victor Thompson is kind of managing the back end of our webinar logistics and technology or technical aspects, and I'm grateful for him. But we have a number of people that plug in and help on all the different things we offer. And so I just want to make sure you understand it's not because of 2 or 3 people that we get things done. And if you don't have a church home, I encourage you to check out one of our participating churches on a Sunday morning. They're all meeting in person, and you can watch them online as well if you choose to do that. But encourage you to take advantage of that as well. And so with that, let me stop sharing. And I am grateful to introduce Dave Ritzman. Dave has become a friend, but he's also gone through job transitions himself, where he's learned a number of things. He's gotten some understanding and gotten wiser about what's really important and what matters in this process. And so I'm really grateful to have him share this morning. Dave, glad to have you join us. I'll turn it over to you.
Great. Thank you, Harry. And good morning, Crossroads community. I love that you're really in a career search network that is of excellence, and really you just heard a lot of great information, and it's really next level and best practices, and it's been helpful in some of my searches. But let me jump in. I'm going to really just share a little bit about my story, which is really God's story. I am a Christ follower and came to faith in Christ 30 years ago. I'm a husband of a wonderful wife, Jean, and I'm a father of 2 sons, Lucas 17 and Jason 21. And anyways, with that, I'm also a learning and development or training and development professional, and have a sales professional with 30 years experience. And I'm very passionate about measurably improving the effectiveness and performance of individuals and leaders and teams and organizations to help achieve financial goals and return on investment, as well as satisfying their customers. And so that's my 90-second pitch, and maybe Derek can help me with my branding later. I'm excited to see his information as well. But I think it's important that that I just frame up to you my life, and my life is to live my life for the Lord and to honor Him, and that just didn't come right away. I mean, 30 years ago, I really viewed career and job and things separately, and what I'm telling you, that it's not separate in my life, it's all the same. And so the marketplace, to me, I'm excited about it. I've always been entrepreneurial, but the marketplace to me is a way to use gifts and talents and skills and experience that that really honor God and honor people and help people, and that's very important to me. And I make no distinction between whether I'm in in a boardroom working with leaders, or if I'm in the 4 walls of a church. I have a higher purpose, and this higher purpose as well helps to inform who I am, and that is I want to use my finances and resources to be generous, and I want to do that in a way that not only I give my tithe, if some of you are not familiar with that term, but I give my tithe, but I also give over and above that to help certain projects and missions and places of need, such as missionaries in a variety of countries, or other people that are in need of water and food, and in helping with human trafficking and other kinds of things. So that's very much on my heart, my family's heart, as part of one of the ways that that's a higher purpose. Another higher purpose is to use my gifts and my talents as a trainer, as a teacher, as a coach, and to use those talents to help and benefit people to be the best they can. And I've done that in roles as a business owner. I've done that as an employee. I've done that as a leader and a manager within an organization. So to me, the so what is, it's not a single transition. I think a lot of you, and there have been many transitions, and some unexpected and unwanted, right? And some are very wanted and chosen, and because as Harry mentioned, it was wise for me to back out of a situation like that. So having a higher purpose helps me to be more prayerful. It helps me to be more open-handed and open-hearted about what happens when I'm in a certain job or position or role, and trust. It really causes me to trust God. Now, does that happen without pain or stress? Absolutely not. I mean, and I know, and I felt that those kinds of things. You know, grieving a job loss that was unexpected, and I'll share a couple transitions with you. But I know that focused on the higher purpose and focused on God in my life, that He's right there with me, and He's right there with you. He has not abandoned you, and He's right there with me. And when there are tears, He's right there with me in tears. And when there's celebrations, He's right there with me as well. So I just want to tell you that I think that leads me. I just want to frame that up to you, because that leads me how I come into positions and careers and how I go out to them, whether they're welcomed or not welcomed. So just to look at a couple of the transitions that I've been through in the last 7-8 years, I would say. I had a transition once where I was in a consulting in my own consulting business, and basically I had my own business, and I had a friend of mine who was a leader at a manufacturing site, and said, Dave, there's a training manager position open. You would be great for this, and there's a real need for it. We need to build our capability up, and we need to build out this team and get credibility back. And so I was like, I don't know if I want to go back into a corporation, but what was happening at the time was that the economy wasn't doing well, and I just adopted a son, an 11-year-old boy out of Ukraine. And so what was happening is that I needed to not be on an airplane consulting, and at a valuable time where I can have stability, not only in terms of economically, in terms of the economy, but also stability in terms of being with my son, and yet this attachment that's necessary. And I had a younger son as well, and this was 10 minutes away. I really believed God was leading me to this, and I took it, and it was helpful. It was very helpful. And in that position, I was in that position for a couple of years. I accomplished what the hiring manager wanted me to do in terms of building that team back, in terms of helping the credibility of the training and development function across the whole site. And then I got a new manager. Have you been there before? And his ideas and his thoughts about things were different, right? And I knew that some things were happening, at the plant, and I knew some things that were, very unstable, and I knew there was new vision, and this wasn't feeling good anymore. But I really didn't want to just. I'm one not to leave something quickly, but I was prayerful about it, and I knew that, and basically I was let go. I'm just going to let you know. Kind of beat me to the punch, but I was let go and transitioned out of that job, and it was unexpected and it was painful. And I think one thing I learned is that again, being open-handed, that God, this is your journey. These are your skills. This is your career, and I wanted to make sure that I did this well. And it was hard, and I actually engaged with Crossroads, and I had to really forgive some people at the plant. And I really want to encourage you. Maybe you don't understand that concept, but I wanted to forgive, because it's like, forgiveness is like, if you don't forgive, it's like I'm drinking a cup of poison expecting the other person to die, because I'm holding on to something that's bitter or hurtful. So I really had to get into a place of forgiveness. And so that's, and I had to get a place of prayer, and I had to get a place in humility too. And I'll talk a little bit about those lessons here shortly. So I did that, and God provided, and God led me to the next, into the next situation where I actually, through networking, and networking is so important, as Harry said. I was networked for years with an organization who brought me in to become a sales leader, and did so in a manufacturing company, a new organization, new role, and it was wonderful. And I began to thrive and learn and work there. And I became not just a contractor, but became an employee. And for 3 years, up to just recently, I was successful, build out teams and help this organization. But again, I felt the prompting of God, being open-handed again, being open-hearted. I was driving an hour each way, and my family needed me, and I needed to be more home. I really started to be prayerful about it, and I arranged for my exit. Now, this one was self-induced, and I arranged my exit, and I did it with integrity, did it with excellence, and I got full support of top leadership at the company, and their blessing, and I went back to consulting and training, and then 2020 happened, right? Yay! And so, but it's all good, and so I am in a place where I'm consulting and training, and God provided the projects. God provided the connections through networking. God provided the referrals, and we are getting our needs met and beyond that. So I just wanted to share with you that that sometimes that it's not about one transition. I want you to look at the whole of your life, as I did, and what's really going on. And so have a vision. For me, I'm trying to live my life for the Lord the best I can. Have higher purpose. I'm trying to use my finances to be generous. I'm trying to use my gifts and talents beyond the marketplace in terms of coaching, training, and consulting. And I would say to you that the 3 takeaways I would get from this would be, to have that higher purpose, and to not hang your hat on one thing as a job, that type of thing. Again, never burn a bridge, okay? No matter what happened, and you'll have 30 years of networking and lots of a good network. And secondly, pivot and take a different perspective on what's going on. What was the good in what you did? Look at what the good was, and then look at what your part was and own it. And for me, I have to look at that. Even in a transition, there are things that I own, I can get better at and apply those life lessons, not only to my career, but also to my life. So with that said, I thank you for your time, and I will turn it back over to Victor and to Derek. Have a great day.
Good morning.
I'm not sure.
I'm
Sorry,
having
Victor,
some
we ain't
really
got that.
bad technical problems this morning.
Yeah. So you want to hold on. Trying to get Harry back. So some
I
weird
called
stuff's
Harry
going
on the offline, and my Wi-Fi has been totally disconnected, and I keep cutting out on Zoom, and I'm sincere apologies, guys. This was not expected. Everything was working great last night.
And Harry, we can't hear you right now, so not sure what's going on.
I unmuted, and I can answer. I don't know if there's a way to answer questions or kind of buy some time here. Let me know how I can be helpful.
trying here.
So what I'll do is Derek, if we can keep you on screen, we'll let you go ahead and start your presentation. And then we'll work behind the scenes to try and get Harry's mic back. So.
Harry, Dave, Victor, can you guys hear me?
I can hear you.
All right, perfect. Thanks for your patience this morning. I'm being tested with some technical challenges that were unforeseen. So bear with me, and I'm going to do my best to, and hopefully we can all say a little prayer that Wi-Fi keeps working. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and get started. All right. Are you guys able to see my screen? Okay. Well, thanks for having me, and thank you for your patience. In business, people are looking to attract customers, close opportunities, and grow their company. But when you're hunting for your next job, you're looking to attract employers, find the right opportunity and fit, and land that new role. One key to that job search is to make sure that you stand out. And for you to stand out, people need to understand what you do and how you and your skills will help them solve the problem that they're facing. That means you need to get your messaging right. If you are stuck, or if you feel like you're getting lost in the crowd of competition, then we're going to talk about some tools today from building a story brand that can help. Donald Miller authored a book called Building a Story Brand to help businesses write more effective marketing messaging based on proven storytelling principles and approaches. And I found this framework and the tools that he introduces to be equally as effective in writing your own personal messaging, your own brand's individual elevator speech. Being able to describe what you do is critical in standing out. You get asked this question at networking events by that prospective employer and by the people that are visiting and reading your LinkedIn page. People tend to answer this question with a number of years of experience they have with the industry they work in. Sometimes they'll answer that with the names of the companies they've worked with. But none of those answers really describe what you do in a way that will help that prospective employer understand why they need what you do. If you pause for a second and you think about the messaging that you're currently using in your emails, on your LinkedIn page, and if you were to have the opportunity to compare that with the people that you might be competing with for that job, I would ask, if you were honest with yourself, if your message truly was different from the other people that you're talking to. So to illustrate what I'm talking about, let's look at a couple website examples. This is the homepage of a customer that we're currently working with. Beautiful photograph of their building, but it doesn't say anything in what we call the area above the fold, the most important real estate of a website's homepage, that top half piece that you see first. So even though the word insurance is in the name of their business. And like I said, the photo of their building is beautiful. They're not taking advantage of the opportunity to tell me as a visitor what they do, what kind of insurance problems they solve, which can be vast, all of which would reassure me that I'm in the right place. And as a rule, with your website, if it takes longer than about 5 seconds to understand what it is that you can offer, you're probably losing that engagement and that potential connection. Here's another example of a website that doesn't really say what they do. This is the old homepage of a customer that we're working with, and they did have a message. It said, helping customers realize their full potential. The word consulting is already can be challenging to understand because consulting can be so vast in what it describes. So without spending more than that 5 seconds scrolling, clicking, and reading, I don't know what the full potential, what that means specifically as it applies to me. It's too broad, it's too vague, and it's not clear enough. One more example. So while this site does have messaging, and again, this is the former site, they don't say what they do in that header area. And while they do say what they do, to find out, you just have to dig around quite a bit. Got to go through some links and read a bunch of copy. And the problem today is that people don't read your website. They probably don't read your entire resume. They might not even read your cover letter for the headers and the intro lines. And then if those key messages connect quickly, then they'll take a chance to dig in a little bit. So everyone wants to, or I might even say needs to tell a good story. But in telling their story, most people often default to listing a bunch of facts. I do this, I've worked at these places, I've worked with these companies. In other words, I, me. But the key to telling a really good story is to realize that it's actually not about you. Your story is actually, at least one that engages, is one that's about the person that you're talking to. In a conversation with your potential employer, for them to know how their lives will be made better through you, your skills, and your experience ends up in storytelling terms, positioning you as the guide in the story. When you lead, on the other hand, with I do this, you position yourselves as the hero in the story. In true storytelling fashion, the hero is actually the weakest character in the story until they go through the transformation that the guide helps them get. So it sounds maybe simple, but this is a real paradigm shift compared to the way that messaging has typically been approached. So you become the guide in the story by talking about what your audience wants and how you're going to help them. So instead of being Luke Skywalker, at least for my generation of Star Wars, Obi-Wan Kenobi is the guide that we're aspiring to be. Here's a template that we used to use to help us describe what we do. We would call this our elevator speech in marketing terminology and business. And you'll notice that it leads with stating your claim of expertise, saying what you do, saying what you're the best at, the first at, the biggest at, and then following up with who it is that you help and how you help them. So kind of pulling behind the curtain, here's what my business's former elevator speech looked like. Sussner Design Company specializes in revitalizing brands that have changed objectives, ceased to grow, evolved to new markets, or faded over time. As a leading design firm, we deliver creative solutions that renew identities to connect with, reconnect with, or expand audiences. Yikes. reading that, not only is that not clear, I doubt that if I switch slides and ask somebody to repeat back to me, or actually to decipher through that and tell me what it is my company does, I'm guessing that that would be a stretch. We used way too many words. We were way too clever, too creative, and it positions us in this format as the hero in the story instead of somebody who's here to help. So here, using StoryBrand's approach is how we've revised it. So it reads like this. Many brands get lost in the crowd. So we create brands that help marketing leaders communicate what they stand for, differentiate from their competition, and engage their customers. So now we start with the problem that most of our clients face that helps, it's a statement of empathy of sorts that helps us identify with them, that helps them identify with us before we get into all of our expertise and all of the specific tactics that we can help with. This is the guide that will help you answer that what do you do question, or write a better version of it. StoryBrand, if you read the book or if you read the book, will refer to this statement as the one-liner. For me, it's even more powerful than that. It's the brand statement. In marketing terms, we would call this your positioning. And this message is, at its core, composed of three components. First, you start off by talking about or stating the problem that your audience is facing. So if in business, that could be your customer. And if this is a prospective employer that you're talking with, then like I put in parentheses there, then the prospective employer is the person whose problem that you can identify with first. Secondly, is to introduce the solution to the problem that you and your skills and experience can provide. And then a third component that didn't exist in our previous template is to make sure we get a little bit aspirational at the end and tell people the success that they're going to experience after hiring you, after engaging with you, because you are going to help them solve their problem. So let's look at a couple of examples of this. So I showed the homepage earlier for Turning Point Consulting. And this is how their new brand statement reads. CEOs struggle to execute measurable change. So there's the problem. Our trademarked methodologies born from C-suite leadership will help you. So our methodologies, that's the solution, realize profitability, scalability, and clarity for higher margins and more wins. So there's the success. I also showed the homepage earlier, the old homepage for NATH companies. And here's how their new brand statement reads. When you partner with NATH companies, your property is in the hands of a company that cares about your success and has a history of helping property owners maximize the return on their investment. So you can see we start to break out of that template a little bit and get a little bit more creative, but in here, the problem, the solution, and the success are still included. Here is a brand statement that I actually helped a friend of mine write, who was heading into a job interview that he was nervous about, was struggling with the interviewing process and feeling like he was breaking through to that next level. And after talking with him about how to reapproach that, this is a message that we ended up writing for him. As the general manager of a property management firm, you are probably under pressure and overwhelmed with to-dos. So you and your role in whatever it is that your skill set is could probably sit across the table or across a Zoom call and say something like that to the person you're talking to, maybe short of HR. But if it's the person that you're actually going to be working with or working for, you can relate to them through that empathetic statement and the problem that they're facing. So then we come back with, you should have someone on your team that you can trust to take care of all those details for you. There's the solution, and the success is so that you can focus on the important things that this business actually needs you to be focusing on. And one more, we flip it. We wrote this brand statement for a customer who's actually on the recruiting side, so that you can see the flexibility in this approach. So to flip it, their business said, and so they're talking to prospective employees, we know that you want to join a team that you can be proud of. And at Mission Critical, everyone contributes and everyone gets an opportunity for professional growth. Join us and enjoy our rewarding career as an integral part of our growing company. So one of the things in talking with them that we deduced the problem was employees that didn't feel like they were coming in for a short-term opportunity and then moving on, and they didn't have an opportunity to grow at the company. So we actually weaved the problem right into the middle here first, but still we didn't lead with how great Mission Critical was. We led with that empathetic statement that helped that conversation be relatable right out of the gates. I put together a worksheet, Harry mentioned it already, and to share with you that basically distills the steps that are described in Donald Miller's books. And I put it into hopefully a simple, helpful template that you can take notes on in helping you write your own brand statement. And Harry promised that he would make this available and share this with you as soon as we're done this morning. If you read Building a Story Brand, I should pull this up, great book. You can see mine's a little dog-eared. I've got a lot of, like I've got most of the pages earmarked. Donald Miller goes into actually describing 4 levels of problems in storytelling. But for the purposes of what you're looking to use this tool for, there are 2 types of problems that I'm recommending that you focus on first and worry about the other 2 later. And those 2 are the external problem and the internal problem that the person that you're trying to talk with is running into. The external problem is the physical, tangible thing that's getting in the way of what they want. From a job search standpoint, that could be something like finding the right hire is hard. Or in looking for my new team member, I don't know where to start. That's an external problem. It's a physical issue of something that's getting in the way. But that next layer of problem is the internal problem. And that's the emotion that external problem is causing the person to feel. So that might be looking for the right hire, which is hard, might have me feeling frustrated or even overwhelmed. And that is the key point to try to talk to. In life, and especially in business, people make the mistake of describing what they do or selling their products or their services to help that external problem. I have grass in my yard, and so lawn care service, that would be an external problem. The external problem is I need to mow my lawn. Well, maybe not quite yet, but hopefully soon. So I need to mow my lawn or I need to fertilize my grass. But people buy solutions to internal problems. It's the frustration that I feel, or even the envy that I might feel when I look at my neighbor Dave's yard every morning when I leave for work, and I see how green his grass is and how nicely edged it is, and mine looks, side by side because our grass touches, mine's always falling short. And it's that frustration that I feel that would ultimately cause me to hire a lawn care service to fertilize for me, so that I can be spending my time doing other things because I don't have a green thumb. But the key is explaining how you will benefit, and your skill set will benefit your audience, or if you can talk to solving that internal problem, then you become the guide. That's one of the ways, that's the best way of positioning yourself as the guide, and it puts the person that you're talking to on that heroic pedestal. One final example to drive this point home, because I can't emphasize how key speaking to somebody's internal problem is in being effective. A couple of years ago, we had our house recited, and prior to that, I was trapping in this little crawl space in my basement. I would trap a mouse once in a while. No big deal. I should be able to trap a mouse here and there, and it shouldn't be an issue as long as my wife doesn't find out. And after reciting the side of our house, I think what happened was a nest of mice were trapped inside. And so while I thought reciting our house would have plugged all the holes, which it did, and would keep all the mice out, it turns out it actually caused all the mice that were left inside of our house to have a little a mini explosion, and we had all kinds of mice. So I'm trapping the mice. I'm getting a little frustrated, but I'm still dealing with it. My emotional level is still under control. I'm trying not to, upset my spouse and let Tessa know what's going on. Until one day we turned on our oven, preheated our oven to get ready to make dinner for the family, and the most obnoxious, nastiest smell came out of our oven that you could even imagine. Now, the good news is there was not a mouse in the oven. But the bad news is there was a mouse nest full of mouse droppings inside of our oven. Inside of our oven. It was so violating how that little purse guy got in there and came through the back and drug in literally fiberglass insulation, made a nice little nest. Apparently we hadn't used our oven in enough time. But the violation that caused us to feel had me on the phone to the first pest control service that I could find. And I don't think I even asked them what it would cost to come do our house, get rid of the mice, and move on. So it's that internal problem that really helps people buy the solution that you're providing to that external problem. Okay, let's look at a few more examples. Here's one for a manufacturing firm. Your customer has a vision. What you need now is a resource you can trust to help bring your customer's vision to life. We are a premier manufacturer of custom substrates and signage solutions you can count on to produce exceptional results. Another one. So here's one for a mental health organization we work with. We fully recognize the impacts of pain, physical, emotional, and relational. We specialize in teaching you the skills to remove your pain from the spotlight. There's better life ahead. So you can see that whether this is written from a recruiting standpoint, from an prospective employee standpoint, from a business to business standpoint, or a doctor to patient standpoint, the approach that StoryBrand uses in this tool just works fantastically for all of them. The impacts of pain, that's the problem. The solution is teaching you the skills, and the success is removing your pain and pointing you to this better life that's ahead. So problem, solution, success is the cadence. Another example of a recruiting message we helped write, who is struggling finding employees pre-COVID. As a major corporation, it can be hard to win everyone's trust. But when you treat your employees as if they were your customer, they'll feel valued and know the impact they have on the company's future. And one more, if I was looking to hire somebody, I wrote the statement that I would be attracted to, the one that would catch my attention compared to all of the other resumes and letters and emails that come across my desk. It reads, as the creative director, you are pulled in too many directions. You could hire more people, but this eats into the profit you're working so hard to build. As a fractional marketing director, I'll complement your existing team, expand your resources, and give you the assistance you need so you can be focusing on your clients. So if you want to take a screen grab of that one, switch creative director and fractional marketing director and plug in your audience and your role. That one is free and on me, but this would absolutely help capture my attention. Here's what the entire story brand framework looks like, and the 7 components that go into, if you're interested, writing your overarching brand story. So if writing the statement is one piece that will help you, writing an about us or an about me or more about me paragraph, this is the larger component framework that would help you. A great, amazing tool that StoryBrand has that's free. It's in the books. It's in Donald Miller's book, Building a Story Brand, but it's also available for free at mystorybrand.com. You just have to trade your email, but it's a great digital tool. You'll see the little play buttons up there. Those are brief introductory statements that Donald Miller reads to kind of set up what each of these are. And this is something you can save online in your browser and come back to from time to time as you continue to work through this. And I actually find this is a great place to gather my notes and to get some thoughts out, to think about, to brainstorm what the problems are that the person that I'm thinking about talking to would use, and gather the notes. I actually use this tool to get ready for talks like this. I use this tool to get ready for big business presentations and meetings. It's just a really, really great framework. So what do you do once you have that messaging in place? Make sure to put it to work. Think about all of the handful of kind of key job search components and tactics and tools that you're using. Your resume, your emails, I'm sure. If you have a website with work examples, your website is absolutely a place to put that brand statement into place. And I would say if you can get that brand statement to where you're comfortable at it, to be able to say it, memorize it, so that when you're at your next networking event or in some sort of in-person contact with people in this employment space, next time Harry gets you guys together in person, to be able to actually say it when somebody says, hey, what do you do? Instead of saying, I'm a fractional marketing director. Well, I don't know what that means. But if instead you said, I help creative directors focus more time on their business so that their business can be successful, then I might say, well, of course, I would say, that's interesting. Tell me more. What does that mean? And how do you do that? Then you can get into the skills, the years of experience, and all the relative authority that would give you the reason for me to trust you that you have those skills. Here's an example for a customer of ours, both his personal LinkedIn page and his business page, to just show in that about section, even the headline that lands right under your name. You'll notice for Chris as an individual, instead of saying CEO of Focus 33 Printing, it says, we take the commercial part of commercial printer to heart. We print materials, but we also create peace of mind. So he's still speaking to the success that he's looking to provide his customers, in addition to all of the great experience that he has. And if you read under the about, you'll notice that his bio leads with an empathetic statement instead of with his experience. It starts by saying, Chris understands what it's like to pace the halls wondering when your estimate, proof, or finished product will arrive. That's why he founded Focus 33. And then it continues and goes into basically his brand statement is what finishes that sentence out. And you'll see the same thing in the overview about section of his page. And one more example, here's what mine looks like. So again, the headline under my name, it does say what we do. We create brand identities, but we made sure to say why we do that and how we're helping people. And then down below, you'll see it leads with, if you're like many marketing leaders, you might feel like, so again, there's that empathetic introduction that leads into basically for me to then say, and that's why I get out of bed every day, is to come and help those kind of people with these kinds of challenges. And then you'll see again on our on our company LinkedIn page, we've translated that into that overview section. So you can start to see how once you get that brand foundational messaging in place, how you can start to use that in some of these tools. One final thought, at least in business, and I hope this translates to job search, but in business, one thing that we often fail to do or forget to do, and maybe this is a Midwest or a Minnesota nice thing, but we forget to tell people what it is that we want them to do. We say learn more, or we say I'll check in later. We're very passive about it. And when you're passive about it, that comes across, that can often be translated to that you're not that interested. You're not that interested in their business. You're not that interested in their job. On a retail website, the call to action is buy now. On a business website, like for my website, the call to action is call me, let's talk. If this is a job search call to action, at least if you get to that place where you're in person, it's asking for the job. It's telling them, I want this, assuming you feel like the right fit, to tell them that I'm the right fit, hire me. I'm super excited to do this. I think we take for granted that people will think that we're excited and they'll think that we're interested. But if you don't take a moment to tell them and express that, they might not be thinking that same thing. So in reviewing these examples, I hope you can take these tools, and I believe it really will help get your messaging right, both for yourself and down the road for the organization that you land on. I hope that these tools will benefit that team. When you do land that job and you are looking for somebody to help get the messaging right for that company that you've started with, give me a call. In the meantime, here are a couple more resources that may be helpful to you. The first one is called the Marketing Checklist. This summarizes the 5 items that Donald Miller outlines as part of a sales funnel that help leverage your business and messaging, some of which could also be relatable to job search, and our brand worksheet, which is a great place to gather all of the input around the 10 questions that we start at the beginning of every branding project. And I believe that most of those questions would also apply to job search. And if you are not able to find those on my website, let me know and I'd be happy to email them. So here's to standing out from the crowd and landing that dream job. Thanks again for having me. I'm going to stop sharing my screen and would be happy to spend some time answering any questions.
Eric, thanks so much. As I was listening to you, it was just tremendous in terms of what I tend to tell people as well is too often people's elevator speech is long, very long and complicated and all about how great they are, but doesn't connect with their audience and doesn't tell the story of what they can bring to the table. And so it's you hit the nail right on the head, I think, in so many ways. And I think looking for that value statement that's brief and easy to understand without using a lot of corporate lingo and everything else is you're exactly on. I think this is something that people need to work on quite a bit. I even in our networking groups, when people go around, somebody that just speaks from the heart, not off the cuff. You need to be prepared with what you're going to say, but when they speak from the heart about what they offer and what problems they solve, without sounding canned, it is so much more effective than somebody that has an impressive sounding corporate elevator speech, but doesn't connect with anybody at all. So you had it right on.
Yeah, the great point. That the friend of mine that I mentioned, who I helped him write his speech, he was actually way overqualified for the job that he was going for. And he was afraid that the person that he was going to talk to, A, wouldn't consider him because he was overqualified for the role, and B, would be a threat to her and would be coming after her job if she did hire him. So it was really important for him, and he had the opportunity to know that, or at least to deduce that, and was able to make sure that he was very clear about, no, I am here to help you. The benefit of all that overqualification that I have is that I really know what it is that you're going through, and I know what it is that you need somebody to take care of and do for you and take off your plate.
That's exactly right. And you talked about storytelling. As in our executive search firm, that's what we focus on as well, being able to tell a compelling story that's transparent and true and authentic, that does the best job of recruiting the best candidates. We do have a question. I encourage all of you that are participating, if you have other questions, add them into the chat box and I'll read them to Derek here. But one person is asking, in the job search process, how do you recommend that we determine what the person's internal problem is?
Great question. There's actually not that many internal problems. I forget the name. Is it Bain? There's an organization that did a really great chart that I apologize I don't have on hand with me, and broke down the various most common emotions. But I think that if you're in job search, if you're applying for a job within an industry, within a role that you have any experience at all in, there's probably a pretty good chance from prior work environments that you know the typical external struggles that they're going through. In project management, it's getting stuff done on time. In sales, it's selling more stuff, generating more leads. In a professional service business like us, it's finding clients, keeping clients happy, and delivering our products at the quality that we promise. So those are the external things that we're aware of. There's pretty common internal emotions that pop up when any of those don't happen. So the exercise is to just say, in the normal day-to-day business, when somebody's doing what they do, when that thing doesn't go right, what's most likely to happen? And that's why I keep coming back to overwhelmed and frustrated, stressed, uncertain. Uncertainty is one of the worst. Think of the beginning of COVID a year ago, not knowing what's going to happen, not knowing who the right hire is, not knowing what the next best step to take, and that sometimes that fear or being stuck like that is those handful are really the most common ones, and you don't have to overthink that problem to still be able to speak to it successfully.
Sounds great. Somebody's asking if you can put up the prospective employee slide again. I think you had an example of a speech there. Great. Somebody else is writing, I like the ability with this type of branding statement to customize years of experience, specifics of what is needed to be shared for a certain job, including overqualified concern. So assuming a captivating statement, this is extra useful. Had a couple other people commenting that this has been fantastic information. Yeah, I think, you don't have to necessarily share years of experience and everything. It's really what are you good at, to be able to, what problems are you good at solving, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It's the cadence, and I don't want to get I could talk about building a story brand and the framework all morning long and bore you to death, because I find it so fascinating and so accessible. It's the first business book that I read in years that told you what the problem was and then actually gave you a really accessible examples and tools to actually solve that problem. Most business books I read seem to tee up the problem really well, but then for the answer, you have to hire the author and hire that author's business to come in and solve it for you. And the establishing of the hero and the guide mentality changed everything for my business. So I'm a creative by nature, but I default to the sales role. And that sales role was always very challenging for me. And it's probably because I defaulted to coming into the room or into that conversation as the hero and leading with me, me, me. And once I realized that we could lead with the client, like any good conversationalist, my wife is a phenomenal conversationalist, and her trick is to just talk about you and to keep talking about you and to keep talking about you until the time is right to then join that conversation and to talk about yourself. So to be the guide first is to empathize, and then it's to give your authority. First, make sure that you can express that you understand what they're going through, even if it's the external problem. You get it, you've done it, you have that experience, so you understand what that's like, and that opens the door to come in with all of your expertise is 100% still relevant. Your experience, your degrees, all of that, but it's a softer, and for me, a much more like you said, Harry, it's a more conversational human way to talk about, you have a problem, and if I can't help, I might be able to refer you to somebody that can, but I'm not going to persuade you or try to make room for a fit if the fit's not there.
Yeah, I think you're exactly right. It's the same reason we don't put, it's bad form anymore to put an objective on your resume, because objectives always were about what you want, that you want, looking for an organization where you can continue your professional growth in a dynamic company or something along those lines. Well, that's wonderful for you, but what do you offer the employer? And
Exactly.
it's the faster you can get there expressing that, the better. If anyone else has any additional questions, add them to the chat box. We can still share those and talk about them with Derek. Otherwise, sorry for all the technical difficulties earlier. Derek, you did a great job of getting through. We didn't have any more fall offs, and I finally got my mic working again. I was talking, droning on before, and nobody heard me. I didn't realize that. So grateful that you were all able to attend. One person's asking, do you have any go-to questions to get to the internal issues as you're having a conversation with somebody, I'm assuming?
Yeah. Think of it's instead of saying, what's your problem? It's a softer way to do it, to come about thinking of this as a conversation. So I might start off, like I had a conversation with a prospective customer yesterday, and they're in manufacturing. And I just said, so what do you guys do? And he said, well, we sell and fabricate metal, acrylic, wood products, and LED lighting. And I'm like, oh, it's super exciting. How do you use that? So ask why. Start by asking why 3 times. What do you do? So, or that's awesome. Who do you do that for? Well, we do it for these kinds of companies and these kinds of scenarios. And I said, how's business going right now? And he's like, well, it's going really great, but it could be better. And I said, how could it be better? He said, we're having a really hard time getting materials right now. And it's hard promising our clients that we can deliver something on time when we can't get the materials and the supplies that we need to deliver that as fast as we need to. And I just said, oh my gosh, that's got to be frustrating. So I didn't say, how does that, sometimes I'll actually say, oh my gosh, how is that resonating within your organization right now? How's that making people feel? I mean, that must be so frustrating. And that little lead in seemed to kind of give him permission to say, oh my gosh, it's extremely frustrating. I've got trucks backed up, I've got XYZ, and then he led into that problem. And it was just a conversational way of saying, what do you do? What's going on? Instead of just sitting down and hitting him right over the gates, right in the first sentence with, so how do you feel? What's your problem and how do you feel? There's just conversational ways to, I think in any conversation, you're probably already doing it. You might just not be aware of it or listening for it. And as soon as you start thinking about the conversations that you're having and the questions that you ask, when you start hearing any angst or frustration, even in the hiring process. I mean, if you've ever sat on the other side of that desk and sorted through, I literally sorted through 100 resumes to find 10 people for a position that I felt were qualified to come in and interview, and then to sit through 10 interviews. And I have a small business, there's 7 of us here. And for me to spend all that time to get to the 3 good candidates, that's overwhelming. I don't have time to do that. And so what that's like on the other side of that desk. And so if you can make it easy for them and relatable for them, and they can start to see you as part of the solution to the challenge. I say problem, but that might be an opportunity. It might be an opportunity in that business for growth or an opportunity for something great. doesn't always have to be a negative, but it's getting to that internal thing that they're experiencing is key.
You keep talking about these being conversations, which is critical versus a monologue. And if you're doing 90% of the talking, there's a problem. And so the more
Exactly.
questions you're asking, the more you're engaging and interacting with them, the more effective everything goes. And so really appreciate all the insight. Derek, this was really tremendous. It was very helpful. It doesn't look like there's any more questions at this point, but grateful for you sharing. It's been useful. I jotted down a number of notes for myself as well. And we're actually in the process of redesigning our website for our firm and working on some of that messaging too. So there's some great ideas there. Thanks for joining us. You will be receiving an email tomorrow following this up that with all the things we talked about. Be sure to check out the website and take advantage of the other resources, the one-on-one coaching, the networking with Grace group, the classes coming up, the prayer support and everything else that we have coming too. Be sure to catch our next webinar, which is on Thursday morning, May 6th. And we will have Dale Henry talk about activate your real world superpowers. If you aren't aware, you do have superpowers. If you haven't seen Dale Henry before, certainly encourage you to come and watch this webinar. He's engaging and entertaining, but does a tremendous job of helping you figure out what your strengths and superpowers really are. What do you offer into an organization that others don't, and how can you be more effective in presenting that and in your work? Dale does corporate consulting, helping leadership teams become more effective, as well as their teams that they work with. And he has worked with some of the greatest companies around the country. And so encourage you, he's actually spoken to over 1 million people throughout North America on these topics. And I'm really glad to have him join us for this presentation next time around. So check that out. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to send us a message through the website. We'll follow back up, watch our job board, and hope this was productive for you this morning. Thanks again to all of our participants and for Victor managing everything in the background. And I encourage you to stay plugged in. God bless and have a great day.